All right. Luana Wayne, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool, let's get started. Happy Tuesday. Happy fall. Yeah, the YouTube. Sorry, the YouTube was on. Wow, did not realize my voice was that annoying.
So the YouTube meeting's gonna finish an hour later, right?
Yeah, probably. All right. So Luana Wayne, you guys have agenda, correct?
Yeah,
There's
I have the agenda right here in front of me. Thank you for letting me join remotely today.
absolutely. We do have in-person quorum, which is excellent. Isn't it 13 members or 8? Yeah. No, 7. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because she's not technically a member.
I thought it was 9. Where's the sign-in sheet?
Yeah, that's how I remember. In any case, all right, we have 7 in person.
I don't.
I always forget them anyway. All right, we played a little bit with today's schedule. I didn't really have a formal chair report, but I'll just share a quick update on some mail that I did get. Wayne, the hearing around 2420 Amsterdam, around the variance for Radio Hotel, that got adjourned again. So if you were wondering about, what happened, there's that. This is actually the first time I see requests similar to this or letters similar to this, which is from DOT in response to Traffic and Transportation's January resolution about the enhancements on Sherman Avenue. So they're studying the corridor. And they explain 2 corners that are covered by their fixed speed enforcement program on that like spread. But I think this is the first time I've seen kind of like a formal response to a reso. So that's very nice. So I'll share it with you later. And then the other one.
Partners at DOT.
Yeah, so thank you, DOT.
It's a new day.
Thank you, DOT. And then another one is an anonymous quote unquote community member about the historic district.
Anonymous?
I'll show, it's an anonymous one.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
so that one I'll
wanna
wait
share it?
whenever you're in the office, you can see it.
Who is it for, Wayne?
No, it's not towards Wayne, it was just addressed to CB12 about the historic district.
But was it good or bad?
Not positive.
So racist?
Well, what I will say is that it is an opinion, whether or not it's like you're pro or against it, like a lot of folks have different opinions about it. The tone of this letter, Wayne, was very much about folks need to speak English when you're in this country. So just sharing that.
There is a petition circulating. I don't know if it's part of the agenda, but since you are mentioning it, there is a very aggressive petition being circulated.
A lot of
Okay.
I got so.
All right. But cool. That was just like as an aside.
Not a petition, but also a letter, and it was sent. It's not anonymous. It's been circulating.
Oh, okay. The one I have is anonymous. Okay, so let's go forward. Let's get like the mini logistics out the way, November and December calendars. November, we have 4 holidays. That the office is closed on. Significantly, it's election and a meeting again.
So what?
Where do you want to go to?
So you mentioned.
And then Joel, but Joel's not here. Sorry.
You mentioned which meeting got adjourned again? The 2420.
Oh yeah, Radio Hotels.
So
The
variance for the high
school that
school.
we oppose,
right.
that they wanted to do an elementary school, now it's going for a high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Well, it's actually the reverse. We approved it when it was a high school.
Correct.
And, the high school, that deal fell apart. And they somehow took the fact that we already looked at it as our being okay with an elementary school going in. And we said, no, it's a very different population, and we did not support that.
Two
And that's the
totally different-
resolution that is the most current resolution on this BSA application.
If I'm not mistaken, Wayne, was the one that got approved was School in the Square, and then American Dream came in with the elementary schools trying
Yes.
to. Yes, it was two
Yes.
totally different schools.
Wayne, do we know
Two,
the?
two different schools and two different levels altogether.
Correct.
Wayne, do we know the name of the school that is coming?
American Dream.
Yeah, American Dream.
But they apply as a,
They try to sneak it in as an elementary school.
Well,
Wayne-
no, it's not that they tried to sneak it in. It's like BSA was sort of taking the approach that since CB12 already considered an application for a school, we were okay with a school being in that location. And we clarified, said we were okay with a high school being in that location because of the population it serves. We had concerns with a elementary school being there.
Correct.
But it
So-
was kind of like BSA saying, well, you've already considered this, and we said, we considered it for a very different population.
Yeah, thank you. Wayne.
Okay, we covered an update there. I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring us back to the November, to our logistics. All right, so as of right now, only youth and business have to move meetings because of the holiday conflicts.
What about the general meeting?
The general meeting's on the 26th, 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah,
The bylaws special meeting, we want to have on the 14th.
on the 14th. Slash
The only
CB12
issue here
special
is
meeting.
that if I move it up on a Monday, you got 3 meetings on one day, and then if I move it up the following Monday, you got executive.
Hmm.
So we'll have to do a Tuesday and a Wednesday, or unless. And I'm curious, like, do you guys think you're gonna meet or need to meet in November?
When you're saying you're talking about.
The task force, sorry.
The task force, yeah.
Well, they
are
should meet,
planning to
the
meet.
funding is gonna get released.
Yeah, we are
Uh-huh.
meeting in November.
Okay. I mean, I feel like either you're doing the Tuesday, the 12th, or the 13th, Nobles.
Oh.
Tuesday, the 12th, or the 13th.
Month.
It's what you think might be
Tuesday, the
easier.
next day, I guess.
Are we
Mm.
talking about the task force? Because
No, we're
then-
talking about youth and educations on Veterans
it.
Day, and then businesses on Election Day.
If we're doing the bylaws special meeting on the 14th, we don't need to have
The
a bylaws
20th.
meeting on the 20th.
Yeah, so that frees up
Yeah,
maybe business. All right, so since Domingo's here, you got pick of Tuesday and then,
I'll do Tuesday.
yeah, and then,
In the small room, Luana.
What's that? Yeah, because I usually,
Your
that's
room.
gonna be my meeting, and I usually take the bigger room because there's usually a larger population that comes in.
Yeah.
all right,
I'll
and.
take the small. Yeah,
Right.
And so then I'll have the office reach out to Joelle and the members to see if they do the 19th or the 13th. So that's November.
Wait, sorry, so youth and education will still be at 7 on the 12th.
Yeah.
It'll be at 7.
Yes.
again.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we're doing the CB12 special meeting / bylaws task force on the Thursday, the 14th,
within it 30 days
34.
for a public hearing, like 30-day notice.
No, it's a 5 day.
Oh,
5 day? Is it 5 days, Jim? I think it's
Okay.
like 5 days. It's just a week. So what we're doing is, we don't have to talk about it fully now, but special meeting on the 14th so that we don't have to vote on the 26th on this also. So the goals that we have to get 25 people, on the 14th.
and if you don't get 25 people,
Then we have to bring it to vote on the 26th.
I wouldn't bet on how we're getting that,
Mhm,
not so big, pardon me, but sexy topic.
mhm.
I'm thinking if, I don't know, if we can make it very tight, right? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I'll leave it to the
It
task
has to
force,
be in
but
person, right?
yeah, unless you're exempt on Zoom. But that way, if like, we're in and out, we coming to vote, and then,
When
and then that way because the 26th, we have too many agenda items usually in November, so it's just a lot.
don't you like make it like a short, what's the shortest that it could ever be, like this meeting? Depending on the.
Well,
number
I
of
mean, we have
subjects that
to,
we're discussing.
it'd be good to get all the, prospective changes first. Like with exact language in writing.
So you're looking about an hour?
And
so?
they'll probably be discussed.
So then what's
No.
for the 16th for? Aren't
No,
people giving
no,
their views?
They're moving it.
Oh, there is none on October 16th.
No, because
Tomorrow.
that's
Oh.
tomorrow on the language.
No.
So you're saying an hour?
I mean, with discussion, the one meeting we had here, how long did that take?
Mhm.
It went like 3
It went long.
3
for a
hours.
while.
And I didn't feel like we got through a ton of stuff, so, I mean, we could get through it in 2 hours,
2 hours?
So, but starting at 6:30 or,
6:30.
okay.
So
And then
then-
realistically, it's the 9 areas,
Mhm.
unless someone brought something new, but it's the 9 areas.
You were right about 8. One of them was a
Aaron.
duplicate.
Oh, 8, the 8 areas that were flagged at the last general meeting.
Oh.
So
yeah.
realistically, the agenda is just those 8 items, and the votes.
So I think if we just like focus on those 8 areas that we're gonna discuss
Yeah.
and then say it's gonna be for an hour.
There were notable absences from the last
Yeah.
board meeting.
So for this, we would have the office help outreach and calls and texts, so
Yeah.
try to get folks here.
If we don't have a quorum, we could turn it into a task force meeting, so at least the task force should put it forward and then it'll be ready to be voted on.
Correct,
The general
yes.
meeting.
Okay, that works. That works. All right, December. I wanted to do December because it's December. Already, that means general board meeting on Christmas Eve, we know will not work. How do folks feel about the 17th?
Yes.
And then you don't need bylaws, I'm assuming December.
Tight, a little bit tight for licensing. Um,
Mm.
Monday, 23rd, I feel like we're gonna lose so many people.
Move licensing up. No, I guess not.
Joel, ¿quién tiene el link?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I'd rather have it on 17 though, so you're right.
I think I was able-
Oh, Leo's here, sorry.
And that's when
Well,
the
text it
Like
to me,
already-
because
already be
it will
gone.
be a potential.
Yeah, the election's in December.
Oh, I
Mm,
don't have,
yeah.
okay, here's a link.
All right.
Are we
Okay.
discussing December?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have it on the screen. December really the only conflicts with Christmas Eve and that like final week of the year. So the only thing affected is general meeting. Everybody else is safe. So we're either having the general meeting on the 17th of December or Monday, the 23rd.
I
we
don't
make-
mind the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. I think the 17th people will travel for the holidays, so 17th wouldn't be bad.
Okay.
So is there a provision that we can replace the executive meeting with the general meeting? Or are executive meetings, I guess the better question is, are executive meetings obligatory? Because then we can shoot for that 16th, that Monday, the 16th, replacing the executive meeting. But if those meetings are obligatory, then of course we would have executive on the 16th and general on the 17th.
Well, I see that already said that those
I
are
mean,
ready
it's
to
a-
site.
It's a
So moving it
standing
one day before.
I think people are used to Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
I
should
can't hear, I can't
Tuesday.
hear. What's that?
No, there's a couple comments. So it's like Tuesday, the general meeting's usually on a Tuesday. So when we move it from a day that's not Tuesday, attendance is an issue. I wouldn't say exec is a standing committee meeting. So obviously like making them back to back, I would make them very, I don't see anything that we would have to deal on exec that would take more than an hour and change. That we're gonna hear the next,
Sounds
So we
good.
can strive for a short one.
We can make an agreement to go virtual because there's nothing that needs to be passed, no? That's the purpose of hybrid situations like this, no?
Basically, when we passed the new rules, we said all meetings will be hybrid.
Yeah.
But the open meetings law, doesn't that require us to be in person in quorum?
That's what I meant by the hybrids.
But there still needs to be an in-person
We still-
quorum, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get it.
I'm not sure, sorry, Mario, I'm not sure if it was shared, but as far as housing, you're safe both November and December. So just to recap, November, youth is moving to that Tuesday. Joel's gonna hop on sooner or later, so he'll TBD on when, business is gonna meet, because that conflicts with election day on the 5th. We're hosting a special meeting / bylaws on the 14th at 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, at 6:30. And that's it. And no bylaws task force, obviously then on the 20th. And then for December, we're moving the general meeting to the 17th, and licensing is gonna need help to get stuff in on time.
Do we know where our general meetings are?
I don't know. I wanna say it's Hammer, but it depends on Columbia's availability. All right, so that covers calendars, check. I don't know if you can, ready? Yeah, okay, cool. Sorry, so, we're gonna go off to Michelle for her treasurer's report.
Okay, can you see my screen? Cool, so this is the treasurer's report for, September 17th, that's the last date, the day the data was pulled, so is when, this is fresh up to. And as usual, it separates out into personnel, which is, salaries, other than personnel, OTPS, which is like all the staff and office stuff, and then the lease.
If you want to tell me,
What was she saying?
I'm just trying to talk about.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, let's finish, yeah. So that's pretty much the beginning of the fiscal year, right? I'm presenting it to you like a month later, this data, so this is the most recent data I have. So it's about a month stale, but, it's noted here. And we're now in fiscal year 2025, which starts July 1st, 2024 and goes until June 30th of 2025. So we're about 30% through the fiscal year. As I mentioned, separate into 3 sections. And then each of these sections has, the amount that is budgeted towards that line item, that code. And then the amount that's like encumbered, pre-encumbered, which is set aside for that. And then the amount that's already been liquidated as of September 17th. And then there's the remaining balance, what's left over. Okay, so currently we just have a couple of liquidated items so far. So this one is the full year positions for the staff salary at about 45,000. And then about $283 for the longevity differential. For those who don't remember, the longevity differential is what we pay for Paula, because she's been in her position for a certain amount of time. In terms of OTPS, there's been a little bit of money that's been already encumbered or liquidated for office supplies, which I don't know if Ebenezer's on the line.
No, he's actually out this week.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I asked him for more information about it, but I assume it's just office supplies, standard. There's been some amount encumbered for, rentals and miscellaneous. That tends to be the, copier lease. So that I assume it's just the copier lease, and the ones that I'm a little bit less clear on are these general fixed charges. Those are funding sources from the mayor and city council. And it seems like we've already spent about $1,000 in the mayoral funding bucket and about 700 in the city council has been encumbered. So I'm less sure about what those are exactly. Reach out to Ebenezer about it. The last piece is the lease. Lease is for the office space that we rent here. And about 8,000 has been encumbered for it, so. There's been some amount that we've set aside. And then something I did notice, I just compared like the fiscal year 2024 to 2025. Is that we have about 20,000, maybe 15,000 more in personnel budget this year than we did last year. Which makes sense because we also have more staff. OTPS is about the same, but for some reason our rent, we only have about like almost $100,000 less. So I assume we just haven't gotten all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, I saw some email threads going around about it. So yeah, OMB has to adjust it so that we can pay rent this year. So,
Yeah.
That would be 250,000.
Yeah, so yeah, I was like, oh, that doesn't look like we have enough to cover rent, but I assume that will be adjusted later on, and sometimes we pay rent at the end of the year anyway, so.
Yeah, cause you got a weird arrangement, Columbia, MVP and OMB, they'll pay each other, we just like sit in the middle and nothing. Products of the environment.
258 is crazy.
What was that?
That's a penthouse suite, right?
Yeah.
look at the, we don't have views right now with the sun.
Yeah.
There's no AC here in the summer.
That was about the only thing that Richard really made sense. That was about the only thing that Rich
In the
made
old
sense.
days, the
It was just
community
fighting
board
for it.
actually negotiated itself, but then the city took over. So they, of course, are doing a much better job of saving money.
Any questions for Michelle, comments, folks on Zoom? Okay,
Great job.
cool. Thank you, Michelle.
My only question is that report available somewhere for us to like take a look at?
Yeah, I usually just send it to Ebenezer and Catherine, but I don't know if we want to send it more widely, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, we can send it. I've been sitting on this around the newsletter. I'm gonna have to get a little tiger
You can
team
put
to help
some
on it.
The website, because I believe it's public information.
It is. I don't think there's any information there, so we could put it on the, we could put in the meeting materials for on our Airtable for like exec, we can add it there.
That'd be great.
I'll tell no, I mean,
I can send it to you.
okay. Cool, so we're off to Anthony.
Great, thank you, Chair. There we go. So I am presenting for our bylaws, the Secretary's report for fall 2024. So I'm just gonna jump into the exercise that we conducted at the end of the last session. So in June, I took a look at the attendance reports for everybody, both how frequently they were going to general meetings and how frequently they were going to their committee meetings. And ultimately, we found that per our existing bylaws at the time, we had 17 members that were out of compliance with their attendance requirements. What that led to is us sending 17 warning letters to 17 distinct members, just letting them know, this is the number that you've been not in attendance with. You've had this number of unexcused absences. We reminded them of the provision in our bylaws, and we informed them that if this continues through September, we will act in removing certain members for not attending.
Those members can't be shared.
The members,
Yeah.
I think so.
I can provide
I mean, we have the list.
Yeah.
And Anthony, when was this notice sent out?
June.
to members?
June,
in June. The notice was sent in June.
email and lettered.
I believe the
17,
attendance of
17
members is
17 of the
also
50 members.
something that should be
Domingo, you don't only need to know about the other 16. I probably want.
So I have a proposed action plan. So these are them in bullets. The first is reviewing egregious cases of non-attendance continuing into early fall. So what this means is we do have 2 members whose names will appear in the next screen who have not been in attendance at all for the last 6 months. They may have come to 1 or 2 committee meetings, but ultimately they haven't been to a single general meeting since January, and they've missed most of their committee meetings. So that's what we'll be voting on tonight, but we'll table that for now. Next up, we're going to review the continued cases of non-attendance continuing into the start of 2025. So at the end of this calendar year, I'm going to take a look again at the attendance records and see who's continued not attending or not meeting their attendance requirements following receipt of that warning letter. So in other words, those individuals had been warned and they've continued not meeting their obligations under the bylaws. The third bullet here is release another set of warning letters as appropriate before the end of 2025. So this may compose those who did receive or didn't receive. We're taking a fresh look at the attendance record altogether to see if there are new faces or if there are people who've improved their attendance and they will be removed from the list to receive those warning letters. And finally, we'll coordinate with the Manhattan Borough President's Office as needed. For the two egregious cases we're going to show on the next slide, Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we've been in coordination with the Manhattan Borough President's Office about these two. Wayne, I see you have a question.
Yeah, before we go to any slide that discusses names in particular, my question is, would we need to go into executive session for that and stop the recording?
I'm looking at our parliamentarian.
I don't think so, because I think member attendance is not private.
Did you hear that, Wayne?
I did.
Now, if there are some gory details,
Right.
then we might want to go into exec, but it was just, numbers.
But just
And
on
again,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, following what Wayne is saying, I think also, I agree with Wayne. My concern is that those absences can be weaponized by the general public against this member. So I'm with Wayne. If your intention, Wayne, is indeed to exercise caution, then we should.
Well, no, that's not the issue at all. The issue is whether this is public information or not. And if it is public information, whether it can be weaponized or not is irrelevant. And if someone has bad attendance, this is just a fact about their community board participation and public.
Jim,
Yeah.
there's an enumerated list of things that we can go into executive session.
Yeah,
And
it's
and I don't think this is, we could double check.
Well,
but-
again,
Unless we're talking about the names, the attendance records there, I think if depending on the conversation we want to have.
well, again, if
Um,
there's some intimate details of this
right.
person's situation that ought to be private, that's a whole other story. That I think is under one of the, because we will then,
That's an investigation. Yeah.
right, or maybe it's a personnel matter,
Mhm.
once it gets mushy enough.
Like if you wanna get into the why they're not,
Then, yeah.
then it's a different story.
Yeah.
But if you just
Right.
wanna, overall speaking, of attendance is just,
Right.
it's public, it's to the public,
And
knowledge.
again, the attendance of all public officials is pretty much
Exactly.
public.
Yeah, I think my point is I just want us to be clear and consistent when we, when we're dealing with personnel issues in terms of staff, we do that in exec session. If the attendance of board members is not something that is considered personal for exec session, fine, but based on some of the other comments, if the conversation gets into more personal reasons for attendance, then we need to be mindful of what is
Yeah.
and is not discussed publicly.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, that goes to my question to Anthony. I'm sorry, Kathy. The list
Wait.
that we're being provided on the next page, on the next slide, are
Yeah.
those covered
Yeah.
excuses or?
No, they're
Other
unexcused
excuses?
absences, all unexcused.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you for the
Carmen?
clarification.
Can you just clarify for me, if the fiscal year runs on the calendar year or it's not? What's the fiscal year?
It's the start of well, I've been looking at it as September to June.
Mhm.
So September.
Well, no, July to June.
Sorry.
The fiscal year is July to June.
July to June.
And then
it's
our
calendar.
But there's no
attendance
attendance.
record is January to December.
Ours is September
Yeah.
because we didn't do anything in July.
So I'm all thinking now. So
Yeah.
our fiscal year is June,
July 1.
Mhm.
July 1
to
to
30.
June.
What?
Attendance records, we're tracking it on calendar year, not fiscal year.
Mhm.
But we don't do anything in July.
In July
Or
or
in
June.
August, that's why we.
In August, sorry.
Okay. All right, Daryl, Mario, and then we'll keep, so yeah, we'll just keep going forward. We see the names and then just we'll be mindful of the conversation.
I know we'll see the two soon that you mentioned, but was everyone responsive to your letter?
We didn't request confirmation of receipt, did we? Just not. required.
Actually, wait, it wasn't required. It's not required, but we did hear back from, I want to say 2 people, maybe 3, but I think 2.
Wow, so low.
Yeah.
Out of 17.
I thought it'd be the other way.
Yeah, no, I heard back from like 2 or 3 people.
Oh, it's so bad.
Marielle?
We'll be here to vote in December.
From the June letter.
Thanks, everyone. Two questions. One, please remind me of the excused absences, because there have been members that, and with the policy for that, and family or work or whatever the case may be. And usually I forward that on some attendance sheet, excused absence or something to that effect. And then the second question is around, well, for those who have responded, why, I mean, obviously people have personal circumstances and maybe they're unable to participate, but I wonder if there's an exercise for those maybe who no longer want to apply to those kind of very personal reasons for not showing up, so that we can gather that information and say, okay, how do we adjust and pivot as a board when we think about retention of members and bringing people on and so forth.
Yeah, thanks, Marielle. So for the first part of your question, you're right. So our bylaws do contain an enumerated list of excuses in the meeting. So these absences are all unexcused, meaning the person either didn't have an excuse from that list, or if they did, bylaws. The current list in our new bylaws, there's 10 of them, but the ones at the time that we sent out, this illness, a death in the member's family, jury duty, military service, and a host of other things. And then again, there's a procedure built into our bylaws if they're gonna be absent from a meeting. And to the second part of your question, the letter, by the way, the letter was from Kathy, and Kathy put her information, to your point, if you want to change committees, if you want to talk about why on that offer, but the letter stated that there was a conversation.
That used to happen before, a lot of cracks. That I know of, I don't,
Yeah.
but these are the kind of things that kind of like force that to happen.
Yeah, Anthony, quick question. When the person sign in person or through our YouTube channel?
So you actually don't get an attestation
Or an excuse.
or an excuse, but to be clear, I personally don't track the record process they've been following.
Yeah, so that's the thing with YouTube. And I think if you just hopped on the Zoom at 7, and unless like was present and you just hopped on Zoom, you're not present in the meeting, because in order to participate, an unexpected circumstance, or I have an emergency, I'm on Zoom, right? So it's not like you can just pop. I'm not gonna say for every absence, because I think, and we can keep going if you want, Anthony. There are people who might just hop on Zoom and don't communicate that, and that.
Or an exemption.
Right, or maybe they didn't share an excuse or an exemption or anything like that, so.
Yeah.
I mean, sometime during all of next year, there will be one set of warning. Is that very big?
So at the close of this year, we're going to take a look at the attendance record again. Okay, so these are the letter in June, and they've remained absent. Again, I'll stress that these are 2 egregious cases, meetings in calendar year 2024, and they've missed to what extent. I believe maybe Miriam attended 1, and Natalia may have attended 1, but obviously I'm a board member.
So Miriam was in my committee for a while. I just in her family, and then I lost complete communication.
Yeah.
So she just
That session for this?
so that's all I could speak on that I know.
So, and I should have, Natalia was removed by MBPO.
Oh.
The date. And they're looking for.
Can I make it do this towards the end of your January, like Anthony said, for cases removal, that we actually invite him to executive committee. For example, Domingo said that he lost complete, kind of feel bad just to. Yes.
Let's actually account for this. So at executive, we just vote, but like resolutions, it has to go to the general meeting, and they'll have an opportunity on the agenda. There'll be an opportunity if they're present. If they'd like to speak, they can speak. If it removes any person, it's not this committee.
The other thing which may or may not have been a letter that Kathy sent out, usually is that we give them, and that way they don't have.
So till that situation occurred, is it possible for the office to make contact with her if she could resign as opposed to doing this? Because I know for sure she communicated that she was going through, I can't, she was just like, when needing to call me. But I feel like in situations like that where, I think I expressed it like, hey, look, she went through this. The office should also like, hey, how's it going? When they have raised the office should be able to call like 2 months later, like, hey, you know what?
The chair, I thought you had.
I bring up a good point. Like, you're only in the world of your committee. I think that would be useful. I saw Miriam less than a month ago at the event opening on Dykeman. Has obviously been aware and knows that she's going to see many meetings. Because that's something that's been brought up here, both by Mary, Domingo brought it up in the past.
Yeah, so are we voting on her removal today, or?
It's on the agenda. It's a recommendation to the board for the bylaw solution, and then it goes to the board. But the difference is in between. Maybe that notice could stress, you do have an opportunity.
I'm in constant so much time.
Yeah.
I know that she hasn't come to my meeting.
And no general meetings.
Yeah,
No.
Given that it's like our Miriam, when she's been, I don't know what folks want to do, but I'm down to like take the recommend that time frame. If y'all want
So
Just make one, see what you say.
resign or not, like, are you,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I wanna agree
So-
with that. I wanna.
a
This is
record?
not
and-
something that impacts
I
people of the person's, people have to make the decision whether fully committed to this board. And in academics, we call it like counseling somebody out because the number of absences, regardless of that, sure, you can miss, you can circumstance, you're still allowed to serve on the board. So subtracting the sympathy component of it. But is this the right time for you to join a board because the person?
After.
Yeah. You come
Yeah,
in,
go ahead.
so Daryl, Carmen, Ellie, and then Jim, and then we'll keep going.
I was just wondering what cycles they're both on. President, if they reappoint someone, is it for 6 months or whatever, or is it for a year?
A year or 2 years. There's
It's
no
2
such
years.
thing as-
I think,
Or half, a quarter of
I think he wants to know when was the last when she was appointed.
Yeah.
Reappointed,
I'll tell you right
and
now.
which part of that she's on.
Okay, well, Kathy's looking that up, Carmen.
I just wanted to say, kind of to one of Luana's point about setting for 2 years or like a year and a half. So I haven't seen this before, but just want to make sure that it's extended to like forward. Because I did hear like, oh, she's a longstanding member. Okay, when she's here, she can apply to everyone. So just wanted to note that.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
that's,
the thing.
I get the issue about it to do that. At this point, then it should be done moving forward.
Well-
It shouldn't be like just a one-time thing and like an exception, and then decide the rules after. So either don't decide the rules at all,
Mm-hmm.
And just
or
to,
decide at a later time, when,
So-
yeah, and to respond to that, this is how many unexcused absences exactly over a period of time. Eliezer.
Yeah, just, it's quick, because I like to humanize things a bit. Yeah, rules do not punish lack of effort. I always say the person never really did show up, but if the person just sits there and no longer can continue to be a member. And when I talk about, thank you kind of job, Marianne is given her all, just a quick conversation. Yes, just, where are you? How you feeling? Thank you for everything that you've done for the board. Is there anything that we can do to help you? And if she's gonna leave, she's gonna leave, but at least as a way.
Jim, and then I think back to them, and then I think we can.
Example, if you don't come to a meeting, you are expected by the rules to tell us that you're not coming. You're so crazed that you can't for a month or two, but if you, figure out what's going on with you, you have responsibility to notify it. And the other thing, I think in response to what Carmen says, this is the policy we've always had. And generally, to make it more personal, we ask the chair to do this rather than the office. And they can have a long discussion is, unfortunately, if a person just, for whatever reason, just doesn't, they're being unfair to potential other board member or energetic.
Quorum too.
You had your hand up, plus?
So
So
the-
Talia Beltran is out.
Slide at the end of my deck,
Okay.
so I'm just gonna get through the other slides
I
quickly.
have a suggestion, if you don't mind, in terms of the- because things are rather confused and all that, and been difficulties. Rather than taking action this month, more time for a chair to reach out to her and so on and so forth. That's something I suggest.
Like, I don't see why we need to wait.
Is there no?
Well,
I don't see you, we don't
Oh,
see you,
yeah,
but we hear you,
okay.
Joel. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. He has,
We are voting on a resolution to remove a member that will be voted on at the general meeting,
Yes.
which will then clarify their service. and
Kathy, if I
resign
may,
on
I,
it. Okay.
I'm hearing all sounds, keep it for next month and set a precedent moving forward. If we send those emails out and the letters, we should come to that when it gets to this point. Now it's not like, oh, they've done their service, they haven't. It's like, what have their non-attendance? So, but I don't think it's fair if you haven't had the communication to see what's going on. She hasn't been able to submit it, but take it to the board. Even if it doesn't, if you reach out, try to reach out a couple times. If she doesn't make this.
Right? What are we expecting over the next month to occur? So in other words, goes to both committees in the general. Does that mean that the executive committee feels that it no longer needs to make this a 6-month period? There are
I
still
agree with
3
you.
or more.
I just the removal that this is going to happen. Who knows? And yes, you're right. When we come in, we agree.
If I may,
hold on, I'm
Jim
just
and
speak because he has.
Anthony are saying, happen between now and next month. And as you speak with her, you did not get the time to do the letter and can have a conversation and either say some excuses that should have been in family. It was dedicate the time, having the committee and the board vote me off, I can resign, but just have the conversation and there's next general meeting. And then, yeah, and right, the numbers still stand.
Yeah.
But, if we that there are no excuses, that there are absences, rather, that it should have been committed to participating or cannot participate and agrees to resign or understands that we're moving
That's it.
forward.
Carmen.
I
Thank
just
you,
wanted
Louise.
to, it seems like some of the committee chairs have been integration as you figure out what the process would be like over time, then perhaps also make sure to include that process that maybe committee chairs should communicate that but some of the committee chairs have been in contact with the person or, whatever, or may be aware, but probably do want to account for that. So that maybe it could be potential fall if that's the case.
And that communication between been kind of clarified or expanded in the new bylaws. That
It's
was one
like,
of the reasons.
She has been in contact, but the chairs don't know, but they are in
In
contact.
this instance, one chair has, another chair hasn't, because there have been multiple changes also.
Right.
Committee.
persnickety. But this is the one area of the bylaws that does lay out a procedure, right, or from June to next things, but to the point of consistency and parity across all the members, the conversations in TVA for other people and agreed to and has been in place since.
I don't know, Anthony, do you want to keep going just because
Yeah,
of timing and then we'll come?
Basically, it's consistent with
Agreed.
Nancy. It turns out even her attendance would still be insufficient.
Mhm.
Okay, so in terms of the numbers, things don't change. Now, the other thing which we haven't talked about is what would happen at the general meeting, an opportunity to speak. And we might or might not say rules, but you know, I'm the only representative where I live, that I will be at all meetings, and then the board
Or-
could
Yeah.
they not to remove them, even though aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure. Early 2025, again, perform another look back exercise in what we're doing, but then continue not to attend. Remember, the same pattern exists with the new bylaw here.
So when
We're past,
Set of the.
we reopened.
November 14th, but no, then no,
Yeah.
the special meeting.
25 is to do, look at everybody and to whoever has bylaws.
Our internal process, the
Mhm.
time.
So just to say that we're just doing this now, but it's always been a part of our bylaws. Well, I think it's also just important to remember that each year the borough president, they come to the meetings. And I like to think of that as meaning that there are people who are very eager in joining our board and wanting to are appointed members and they're not meeting their commitments. And there isn't a reason for them not meeting their commitments. There's no excuse. They haven't been notifying the office. They haven't been talking to their committee chairs and their board chair. I think that takes away a very denied, in some cases, year over year over year. So that's the why we're doing this, right? And at this, which I think I don't know if there's a consensus of whether we want to proceed, but we could take a vote. And if you think that, you don't want to take a vote, no, or abstain.
So let's be clear what the options are. One is Edzo, right? For removal
Recommendation.
and a recommendation,
Yeah.
excuse me, yeah, a recommendation for removal in accordance with the process. From what I heard was just Jim's of tabling for next month and give the opportunity.
I motion to table.
I second it.
Okay, so I'll first take a vote on that. So there's a motion on the table. There's a motion November and it has been seconded. So we're gonna go down.
The reason I motioned that was because opportunity to be able to meet, but this motion is not going away. So if that person doesn't communicate or November, correct? That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Kathy, how do you vote on that motion? A motion?
No.
I vote no. Michelle, how do you vote on that motion?
No.
Joelle, how do you vote on that motion? Steve, how do you vote on that motion?
No.
Vote on that motion?
No.
Wayne, how do you vote on that motion?
Yes,
Motion?
No,
Leo, how do you vote on that motion? And Domingo?
Yes.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, it is. No. So the motion carries, this 2024,
What was the vote?
7-6.
Domingo shared, I'll reach back out once I can schedule the meeting this week. I'll.
Part of that conversation will be to resign if you.
Yeah, make sure you're,
We get-
so let me be clear the context. Resign, rectify, and,
I don't see, I don't hear a lot of.
I mean, or
Change.
Just tell me whether, because there's a one hybrid. I'm sure that she has in an area in which she may not be able to go to night meetings. Find out first before we get ahead of ourselves, which I get.
Yep.
So let's.
Yeah, so my comment is this, right? So as far, obviously, there's excruciating circumstances that happen in life. This year, you're talking about one of the most active members that even helped us outreach certain parts of. So for me, it's like, we can't just say, hey, now your attendance is horrible, because I think it's, and I'm not that, and the only reason I'm basing this on is, she told Kathy would have probably.
Can we move the agenda? We've already voted.
no.
No, you're not the part
No,
of. the-
Wait, you're right,
We're
you're
not the
right.
part of the-
We're finished, and I
let's
think,
move on.
I think we all get the sentiment. I agree. All right.
And
We're on
it's the
item-
only-
Domingo, point of order. Point of order. We're on item number 5 and I need to, we right now are gonna vote or consider to vote a
Use
resolution.
your brain. 'cause
Domingo,
It looks like you don't have.
Domingo,
Really? Did
Well,
you
you're
just
the
say
one
that?
that like
Domingo.
this.
Domingo.
And you said, I don't have a break.
Yeah, both are out of order. We, 7:35.
He's the one making.
All right,
Some of us are-
listen, but right now let's take a beat for a second. It's have items ahead of us. This is not the time and the moment to get into this. So if y'all want to have a conversation, because I need to retain and vote. So right now we are on item number 5, and that's to vote.
I don't see any sign of this resolution.
Okay, let me try to put last night. Sorry, guys. It was, so, all right, the borough president, along with the convening of, I represent on our behalf, Councilmember Carmenella Rosenthal. So essentially the borough president is submitting an application initiative, which is a $20 million to come to the district. So they requested towards the application on behalf of the neighborhood. And so per our rules, letters of support go through resident lines this Friday. So I'm bringing it here so we can vote because they needed it. But if it's like kind of like major or minor,
I
I
didn't
can
send edits
resend
to the
tomorrow
letter,
with your,
just to the
I'm sorry,
resident
guys,
that we're
let me see
voting
if I can pull it up. Do you have it on your email? Steve?
I second to your email response to the
I
resolution.
haven't said anything yet.
No, when I email, I just said
The
you.
letter up,
The reso,
the reso, with Wayne's edits or,
if it's on it already, yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't
There's
think so.
a,
Questions. Number one, did you say this letter has already been sent?
Yes, because they're put.
You couldn't wait until after our meeting tonight?
No, because my deadline was on Friday.
Now,
Is that a data point?
It was,
let me ask you, so,
There's a more recent
I
version
thought
of
I opened the
this.
second one. From your
so
side.
does I'm not.
Actually, yeah,
confused.
no, this is
The,
it, sorry,
the
that's
proposals,
correct.
for funding, what is the community?
the letter of support's not asking for that. It's the application in its
Okay.
entirety and that the district be considered.
Well, what-
No, because that application, so there were the community list of projects, right, from the community forums that they, part of the package. And then if we're select recommendations and then does another community engagement session. So, we included like at the original, what they call wayfinding. So like all the, what do you call it? Like until we're actually selected and the state reviews
And
it.
Jay, if I may, there were also 2 hearings. There was time for people to come in.
Mhm.
Well, and, application?
No, that's what I'm saying. The state, it's really like they actually work on the list.
Yeah, but taking a poke, I don't want to endorse an application familiar with, and I don't know that anyone else on this board may be,
Right.
we should have that information before us. I have a problem with just giving a blanket of real details.
No, I understand that. I think that support is based on the language that's in it because we're not endorsing any being considered
Well-
the only one because at MVP, the tenor of it is that we're supportive of an application on our
Yes.
back. Okay, Jim.
2
Oh.
points. Number one, Steve is absolutely correct that the process, you're running after some constantly changing thing. And the fact that there's started working on it much earlier. So I agree with Steve's difficulty with the process. Is that the application really has not, is basically, we're saying, yes, we in consultation with others, I'm sure, decide have this, despite this clearly faulty process. Has to do that binds us to something we'll never want. Patient is already a 20-foot bull statue. What we, if it's this mush, then I think, because the alternative is to use some kind of the history. Way back when, and please remember the new hospital, which eventually became the Allen Hospital. And we had a board committee deciding on where the site might be. Well, elected officials came in and said, it's going to be at Baker Field. That's the deal. You either vote in favor, and that was a faulty process. We were furious. So, and this is the same sort of thing. It's not quite as awful, but, and unfortunately, and it's not occurred. We're standing on ceremony, then we definitely won't get to 20 million.
although we put it down in Joel.
Yes,
Well, yeah, I put it, I think someone mentioned already, there were about this process earlier this year, one of which was held at the Unitas. Community board members were there. And I think it was also pointed out that it's been going on for a while. It's been going on probably to support job generating. The opportunity is for $10 is targeted for it. So I think there have been other of being the targeted audience and the targeted area. That I certainly got by email was shared with others of the community board during the summer. So New York State is not going to support because they're not job generating. And we do want the money. There is a second round, more so than a second, because of what fits their definition of what is appropriate for the downtown revitalization initiative.
Yeah.
Call to question.
Second.
Kathy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Daryl, how do you
Wait,
vote?
Yeah.
I vote yes.
Oh.
Sorry, Joel.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Michelle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Joel, how do you vote? I'll come vote.
Yes.
Eleazar, how do you vote?
Yes.
Megan, I think you might.
Luana, how do you
Yes.
vote? Leo, how do you vote?
I'm here, sorry. Yes, I vote yes.
Okay.
12 yeses, 1 abstention.
Just sorry, Kathy, I just want to mention to Steve over the summer for the DRI that I'll forward to you, because they discussed some plans for the funds, and the application.
All right, but that's not gonna tell me what's actually contained in the application.
No, but I'll talk to MBPO once we go public, the applications. Okay. Next agenda item for folks who can't see on screen, we are blessed meeting. I talked about having vice chairs participate at this one, future ones, for just this, or stick
Yeah.
around, which is developing the guide for committee chairs and vice chair survey that we've started brainstorming, and realistically, to get this collective power, we're all here, get a chance to say it. We're really just building up the outline for it. What's a must, what's not a must, and would better help define the role besides what's in bylaws, right? But just like what's practice. So here we have one section that we're building out about the roles and duties, and obviously that's outdated language. And that we're looking to kind of get into deeper is like what the collaboration. We've talked about being able to put in something helpful for you of like, what's the major deadline this month? We're working on, we have the annual board member survey now, when you get new ones, new board members, excuse me. Anything else?
Because some of them don't do anything.
Okay. So during the committee chair, that's why we're putting this together. So we're talking about like best practices. So far, word facilitation, how do you use like feedbacking or feedback from just like the public, like any emails that come in, collaborating with the office, who communicates with the agencies. I'm just kind of going through what we've done so far, and to lean on the office for, and then maybe you all can spruce up a bit. It's kind of like things that are really specific, really standard things that it means that, or that you kind of like just a doc that you have like, okay, this is what I have to do as chair of land use, right? I know ULURP, for licensing, we have on and so forth. So thinking about what are kind of like those really like typical, consistent things that you can pass the baton on to someone. And so far that's, I don't know from anybody's perspectives, what else is missing on here that you need?
Can I contribute something, Kathy?
Yeah, Ellie had his hand up, then it's gonna be Luana and then Joel, is that okay?
Yeah, and I want to be as blunt as possible without and being carefully threading around not being offensive to Lincoln, but there has to be a way in which the duties of a chair do not become their reality show. Yes,
That one more time, I'm sorry.
committee chairs at times become like a reality show in a way in which there's not, when you talk about vice chairs and so forth, and that's being as historically in this board have public and the questions and their own meetings like it was a reality show, right? So I don't know whether we can take more inclusive meetings. I'm looking for a better word, but it has to be a way in which they can also feel part of the meeting within itself. Like they can run it, that they can be participant, and that they can also bring their experience that is volunteering to be here and has the skills obviously to be a benefit from it without just having a sitting duck or a person who's just sitting there.
What has been, I think, I mean, and working in my committee, if I can share, is that there's so that meetings don't get out of hand. So for example, rather than having the chair write the agenda and such, there is a centralized process by which people can get on the agenda to present projects, for example. That has, so I guess what I'm saying, I use that as an example, but with parks are standardized so that all voices are heard. The voices in the public are also heard. That balance where you get 2 minutes to, we're going through it right now with the turf wars. I call them the turf wars, the TURF wars. You know, there are concerns about it, but there are also people that are, how do you get to listen to all voices in the room and mediate without it turning into a reality show, like Eliasad said? So having sort of like standardized per committee, I think that's what makes committee collaborations
Joel,
successful.
you're like fourth. Joel. Oh,
Thanks,
it was
everyone.
Mariel, sorry.
Sorry, just give me a second. I'm like mid-chew. Come in.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think one of the things that vice chairs can help is top of items that need to be forwarded to the various agents to report back to us in a various, whichever committee it is. Because I feel that I'm sure you all feel somewhat what I'm talking about, is that more often than not, the office is back on time, and sometimes we miss deadlines. So maybe if the vice chairs are acting like as a reminder to the office, that maybe helps working. I think it's worth trying that. The chairs are trying to be on top of that, but there's so many things that going on that it's sometimes, a sign, if you will, to do at least some of it.
Jim?
Thank you. procedures. They're called Robert's Rules of Order, and they are to be followed at the general meeting. Now, I'm not at the committee meetings, and therefore some committee chairs, for example, that committee chairs don't in general get to speak any more than any other member of Vermont. They get on the queue or the stack, just like everybody else, and that's when they talk. And the sense of this thing is, like I said, Robert's rules must be followed at committee meetings, and if committee, and the reality is, we have points of order, and if you have a chair who consistently refuses to follow the rules, no, make a point of order, you may not speak now, whatever, with action. Although the committee chair can suggest an agenda aided by the committee. So if the committee doesn't want to discuss something the chair not on the agenda, and if the committee wants to decide something that's not on the agenda, that the chair doesn't like, then we should talk about it. And the whole thing, and sorry about the preaching, but you can keep it. And that's true of this community board too. If you let the chair do whatever he stepped on, you actually have to get on your hind legs and put your knowledge going. One thing that the committee chair should do, which is required of the board, abreast of everything the board chair is doing, so that if there's a vice chair of the committee as well. So again, I know, it's terrible, urging people to make people behave.
So just
Can I have a point of clarification?
Daryl, go ahead, Mario.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, before, I think this is a great, I guess an ICE is, and I think I've asked for exactly is the office staff meant to do. See some of that there, but then also who should be doing what, who should be copied, and figure out, okay, well, how do we go about things? The second one had mentioned this, I think it was a suggestion or whatever the term may be. And I actually like that chair for, housing, and we copy chats and then things of that nature around ensuring all members of the committee have that bit of ownership and that buy-in. What are the things that we're passionate about? What are the things that we're good of the entire committee? And then lastly, training. Obviously, running the, their yearly trainings that they do for the community board. I don't of saying, this is how you run a meeting. I don't, there are some people who this may be new for them. Those bits, I think, are also really important as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
was that,
It was
3 minutes?
Isidro here.
Bedtime.
Oh.
I think it was
Get
you.
in bed, like.
So from the committee that produces the most resolutions, the vice chair has a role where he or she can call each participant or each restaurant in this case. We do not get to create our own agenda, so let's make that clear. The chair doesn't have any input in creating the agenda. However, we can change the agenda if there is a specific, well, for whatever emergency, we can make exceptions. The committee itself is structured in a way that because of the nature of how we function, we let agenda item. We also allow PV to have an opinion. And then as a committee, we just kind of have a meeting and we ask monitors the flow of the agenda, but the committee members are always free to ask questions within the committee session.
Exactly.
And if I miss anything, Anthony, also how we're structured, I think we work pretty well as a whole. But I think that as far as like the minutes and the resolutions, we rotate. We assign to one person. I would not want to assign this to the vice chair because the vice chair could be busy. So we allow members to volunteer themselves and not to appoint anyone. And I get different characters because of the nature of the restaurant industry. It's very aggressive. And again, we rely on the information that we all get, not only from PV residents, the restaurant tours themselves, but also committee members. Oftentimes we hear compliments from restaurants. We put that on the agenda. How the nature of the committee functions, that should be shaped as to how you want to have this fund.
Okay, Darren.
Just kind of to clarify, so and all the different responsibilities that go into running meetings and chairing and vice chairing committees, as well as encouraging chairs to kind of relinquish and obviously make the committee chairs do that, but I just want to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all, sometimes folks are thrown into committee, or like I think one of the surveys said a lot of folks want more tools, like a tool. Some people know what that looks like, some people don't, some people need a little more. So it's kind of like get that clarity. So I think it also includes kind of like our own practices and general best practices. So an agency, you CC Ebenezer, right? Or if you have a press request, you must forward that here. So I think there's like very specific things to our board, and then there might be things that are broader that we want to kind of resonate for people. Oh, yes, Steve.
I want to follow up on what OC mentioned, and Carmen can help me out because this is really her idea. What we discussed at my committee meeting with the agencies on this, for instance, on this budget document, there are things here where we make budget requests and the response from OMB is OMB supports the agency position as follows. Please contact the agency directly and promptly. We don't follow up on the on the direction that we're being given in these budget responses. And we go through this whole exercise and then we don't really, follow through. So one of the things that Carmen suggested at my committee meeting is that we divide up this task among different committee members. But I would suggest that the assistant chair be somebody who would work closely, compile all these follow-ups that need to be done. And as I've mentioned before, when resolutions that we pass, somebody needs to follow up on those and if the office is not going to do that, then it's going to fall to doing those follow-ups. But this is one of my greatest frustrations with the board. Is we pass the resolutions, we do these budget requests, and we don't do the necessary follow-up.
It was Elias Domingo, and then I think we're gonna wrap
Yeah,
up, and that's vice chair.
My thing was like, I was actually gonna suggest, when we do resolutions, actually potentially creating a press release for them, since they're not being answered, and developing that media list would only support that, my opinion. Cause like in certain topics, like, the oath, right, that was an issue that was affecting families directly. And I'm sure that it didn't necessarily catch up as such when it was a priority for children that were taking the subway stations, press releases for some of these resolutions, looking for some sort of reaction, I think is extremely important.
Well, that's a different conversation we should have on what we do to try to reach out to a local press to the extent that we have any local press. But
Oh, no, Elias had his hand up, sorry. Is it okay?
You go and then I'll go last, and then you can close it out.
I just want to go back to this issue of people sharing the load of taking the minutes. I volunteer, but there are individuals who, and I'm one of them, who cannot take minutes and simultaneously participate in meetings. One of my tricks is I simply cannot multitask, so I'm always on one thing. And so if I were to take the minutes while I'm scribbling, I'm not listening. So there are reasons, including the one I just gave for myself, and they, must not be ordered by some chairman to take the minutes, which happened with a chairman who I did not get along with.
Okay, Ellie, before we move on, I want to make sure the vice chairs, assistant chairs that are on
Thank you for being so.
feel like you got some, I think I did share the link also with everyone. So if there's areas you want to add or things you really want to know more of, just drop it in either as directly on the doc or as a comment, so we could keep building it. Yeah, Elias.
Yeah, one of the things I did at the agency that I'm now work for was to try and dig in, following up on your point, in someone's desk that hasn't been paid no goddamn attention to. I want to see it. And I don't want to tell you how many there were. And that kind of like led to that, because that was a meeting, an executive meeting conversation that we had. So going back to the vice chairs and co-chairs or assistant chairs, I think that there's a niche, especially in the budget part, right? I think before we start discussing the 2025 budget, right? I think that we should go back and read, or have the assistant chair read, what was passed from the city council's budget. What were our suggestions that were able to pass and that were implemented from last year's, preventing that we're repeating ourselves on the same issues year after year.
Yeah.
So I think let's go through that exercise and helping them,
we're now talking about the FY.
Thank you, Chair, for just initiating this and starting this guided shift. How long do you anticipate that this will be discussed in future, like executive committee meetings? Like, how long do we hear anything? Is there like a deadline? Is this?
No, I mean, I
2
think,
years from now?
no, I think the goals be probably less than that. I mean, it's really just because some of the bottom places, the office has all the language for it, like for life. I think it's so you feel like it's in solid shape, and then from there, I think exec every year can just like
Standing item on the agenda for the executive committee.
I think for till I think the next three meetings, let's say till Jan.
suggesting, like.
Or we could put a faster clock on it. if we want.
Probably February, since the new members come in February.
That's true.
Yeah. So
No, but that gives folks time to like change things up. I like that.
You sent the link around for this already?
Yeah, with the agenda, when it.
You just typed in that in October, we vote on.
We don't vote, sorry, we submit.
We vote on the expense and.
It's like a brainstorming, we're doing
Well,
something.
I would call it a preliminary discussion, the expense and capital budget.
Oh, so yeah, that's what I should have said. Committee vote,
Meat of the statement of disagreement.
member ranking.
Sometimes I wonder what it's up to.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep going because of time. Thank you folks for this again. I'll start neating this up ahead of our next meeting, and I should be able to get the language from the office.
Well, for each of the committees, you're looking for,
Not everybody has that, but like a lot of our committees do. So like something that I picked up on, like with youth and education, there's just, until becoming chair, that was information that came in, and that's something that like, I think is good for youth and education chair to know that like, hey, from the time to time when a brand new school is opening, you know, you might get notice of a hearing, and you can include that in your agenda.
But I also suggested that the staff should, all of this staggered mail 2 months after they give it to me. These passed already. So if they send calendar invites, that could potentially lead to.
You're talking about actual hard.
Yeah, they give.
Yeah, they only mail them, the
Yeah,
school hearings
it's
thing.
a stack of paper.
I haven't seen any actual mail. by anybody in,
Oh, I haven't seen
I
it.
get manila folders.
They're still old school
I haven't
out
seen
here
any mail.
for next week.
Well, all I have, he's gonna be more active in board meetings, and he was a principal for the district for about it was what you call those, like high performing schools?
We have to compile.
So that
Okay,
was- that was-
sorry, hold on. So, what's your reso on, Luana?
Sorry, I was on mute. It is let me just read it so that I don't misrepresent, helped in the drafting as well. It's a resolution to, hold on. I want to read that, sorry. If anybody wants to go after me, please do so while I pull this up.
Before we get into the like quick report backs, lightning round
Okay.
style. Okay. Actually,
Yeah, resolution oval water service installation. So in short, this is going to go before the board. It passed unanimously at the committee level, and it is basically an initiative to install challenge to provide plausible watering in that area. In a nutshell, Steve, I don't know if you
Well,
want to
it's,
talk about
it's
it.
water service for a garden that's, in a group, that I happen to be the co-chair of. So it's, known as the Riverside Oval Garden, over, to the other side of the street and attached them to fire hydrants. And, this has been years inside the garden.
Well, efficient water service without obstructing the fire hydrants or using the fire
Two
hydrants
hands
to
from,
water
let me go
garden.
on, Anthony.
Just a quick question.
So that we could then present it to the Public Design Commission and the Landmarks Preservation Commission.
So is it possible we could submit requests for gardens to get, because we're experiencing that same issue around Wallenberg. We have a few gardens, and the way that the watering is very, very, very stuff like that.
Well, we should look into that situation.
Okay.
Okay,
Chair,
so,
Chair, are we
yeah.
still with committee reports, and is it possible to bring a point of personal privilege?
I have
during this?
not,
Personal privilege.
the point of privilege, you always rise to the point of privilege, right?
Well, Jim is here, so it's like, he says,
8:19,
Robert
wait,
rules
just,
of order, so,
well, I'm
yeah.
actually a great example. I'm gonna rise to the point of privilege. It is 8:19. I really wanted to get us
I'll
out
be
in
30
15
seconds.
minutes. And I don't wanna do lightning. Yeah, so we'll start lightning round. Let's do that. Their committee budget, expense and capital is. So when you're doing your lightning round, please say when you're gonna get to it so that they can have that ready next week. All right, go
End of
Luan.
this week.
Continue with your 30 seconds.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring to this forum that the same way that in the bylaws, we have written a statement or a vote of no confidence, I think we should extend that to board members who treat office staff in a certain way that is disrespectful and does not show decorum
Okay, we're gonna keep
or
going.
professionalism.
Can I just quickly respond to that?
Yes, 1
I
minute.
will only say that as part of the new bylaws that went effective on October 1st, we did add a new sub-provision under the article removal of appointed members that says if you violate president's code of conduct, which what you're describing would be a violation of that is grounds for removal.
And
I'll just quickly also add staff because they're.
To protect that.
Thank you, Anthony.
Great.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate
And
it.
check out the Borough President's website on that. It's really.
Wait, I just messed up the mic.
Sorry, the borough's president's website for a good list of what, like, the code of.
The code of
Conduct. It's like very
It's a
specific.
new thing
long.
for this.
It's very
Areas.
Okay, for folks on Zoom, so Leo, can you go?
Ask them if they can hear us.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if you can.
Yes, I can hear you. And quick update, we had a joint meeting with the Mingo Youth and Education. Thank you guys for having us. He said the superintendent came and he offered his extension, and I think that was refreshing. Then we just voted on the committee rankings. You will have that from me in the next 2 days.
Joel.
So I had Javier, which is from Popular Bank, that Popular Bank is submitting to the state. Unfortunately, the application and this BDD application as underbanked to the state, which would deposit more credit application, first time home buyer, but they decided to stop that. So he updated that to the committee. We all know, which is a card licensee for delivery of come in and talk about the experience of being a card licensee and how, the stores, because of that, the DASNY fund has ran out, or I guess the deal went south with DASNY and the OCM. So we included that in our budget. But should be receiving that by next week, so, or, yeah, this.
Who else is on Zoom? Mario?
Hi, so we had a presentation from the WB Terminal, by the end of this year, which sounds really, really exciting. Education Committee as well. So I will make sure that we send a committee and budget priorities. I think a couple kind of quick takeaways. One, who puts forward what, and just ensuring, obviously that kind of the issues that we care about as a community are covered. So kind of pare down our list, so that it wouldn't be super long. We hope to get the list to you, hopefully, but to relevant agencies, to the point that Steve made earlier, that, we don't, we're looking at these responses. Note for the record, one of the responses, I think it was mistagged in terms of, because the response from OMB was, this is not the right relevant agency for this item. So I guess the question in terms of when we do the submission, see, those items should be connected. So I know in the past we haven't done that.
No, I would say
Thanks.
don't focus on tagging them because there's a specific process that DC.
Okay.
If we know there's something,
Then maybe I can just show you where the error was, because there was something that we were really putting forward and it just never got to the agency because it was mistagged.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't hurt. I guess it doesn't hurt if you put it in parentheses, but it's also not necessarily needed or required, I would say. I'll take a look at the packet. It's here on the table.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. And then, that finishes Zoom. So we got, let's start with you, Linda. Lisa.
Well, the 34th, 33rd, both were able to attend our meetings. Both gave us their boring list of accomplishments and their stats and things that they're able to discuss. So I hear that Detective
Pape,
retired after so many years
Oh,
of
yes.
service. Yeah, so
She
many
got
years.
an award from Fort Tryon Park.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Congratulations to her and to you for being so kind. I really do appreciate that. On my behalf, right? On our behalf, all of us, because we're trying.
Well, they have a ceremony every year.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
So I'm just being difficult. So yeah, our takeaway, my takeaway has been they are consistent effort in the FATE tax enforcement that they've been doing in both bridges of 181st Street to 07 and even on the Hudson, on the Henry Hudson Bridge, going towards Riverdale, that area. So they are really focusing on those fake places. Primarily maybe because they're not getting as much money from the tolls, the unintended consequences of their enforcement. So yes, that's pretty much what they've been focusing on. Last but not least is the Lauderhill area.
Lower Hill Terrace.
Lower Hill Terrace, right? Partly it's now, also just been stealing cars from all over the place, and I guess because the lighting there is not as good. Before they used to have the Columbia police force, there were yeshivas, right? So yeah, so now they're having issues on the Columbia end. New York Presbyterian has a new director of public safety, Charlie Bello, who used to be the 33rd. Yeah, so they rotate. You know how it goes. So yeah, so we have a friend. I don't want to say an ally. We have a friend of this community board that can respond to a lot of the valid issues that you bring in your committee, Steve. It's my report.
Thank you. And your budget for Friday?
Today, Tuesday?
Today's Tuesday.
Saturday. I'm not working on Saturday. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm saying Friday. Yeah, I'll do it on Saturday on my day off.
Okay. Steve, on to you.
Yeah, can we go back to Joel's report for a moment? About the application by Banco Popular to get that special state status. Don't remember, we passed a resolution in support of that request. What, a couple of years ago, maybe? Is it that long ago?
It was last week.
It was last year. That's why they went with an update to his committee. They went to his committee for an update on it.
Yeah, but he said they're not going to apply now until next year.
They withdrew the
They
application
withdrew.
from the Department of Financial Services.
So now they're
So they'll have to
gonna
go back.
So the same application that we endorsed.
They withdrew
They
it.
withdrew it?
And their goals to reapply next. He explained it. It was long.
It's likely that DFS set timelines they could meet.
Yeah.
So they're gonna prepare, come back next year.
That's why you have to sign them right away by deadlines, right? Right.
Your turn. Sorry. Budget priorities and
I'm just being
quick lightning round.
Well, we had a very good presentation by a group that that's been around for a while. The first time they've came from before my committee, Alta Gracia.
Oh, they're right here.
What? No, they're basically St. Jude's. They used to be over here at St. Rose of Lima, but at some point they moved up further up town. And their presentation, to a great extent, focused on pending council that deals with nutrition, and basically, and I think they probably will prompt us to come up with some resolutions around the beginning of the year after these bills are reintroduced in Albany. Look at whether or not we should do a resolution in support of the city in the coming year. So we may have a resolution next year, next month. And we FY 25 expense and capital budget request. We discussed them and Craig might reorder them based on our current expense request and for capital request. But let me ask you though, I'd asked Ebenezer earlier whether or not normally we pitch some of their budget requests. Did we ever?
Happened this year? They normally do it during borough, kind of like borough service county with each agency.
Right.
I kept hearing that got changed around. It was really late, like.
Two-step process in which on the district level, the district manager meets with the local head of sanitation or the pool one at the district level. Ebenezer told me I'd like to know more about that.
The reason was that because they felt like it was they one virtual session and just go through all their
Okay, but then
priorities.
you're dealing with it on a, get the information you need from your own district. So unless there's rotations are no longer being held, I would urge that they be revived, that next year we have those meetings again, that you should have a conversation, find out what they may need in the budget. I mean, for instance, we have an item here asking for more year after year. I'd like to know, do we in fact need more garbage trucks here in district? But you're not gonna find that out at the borough consultation meeting where they're talking about, borough-wide issues. And Ebenezer, when I asked Ebenezer about this, he said it was gonna be discussed at the district service, but I don't think we ever heard anything from whether anything came out of that meeting.
I'm not clear. I can't say to that, but I'll ask about this
All right.
one.
Well, meanwhile, the committees have now gone through the process and we did not have the benefit.
We got the list. I don't know what happened. I honestly don't know what happened this year.
And the superintendent actually said that he's only had 40 days on the job, but that he's willing to provide data for anything that involves schools. So if you need data for like any budgetary item, so he said, but he's also saying it for the board in general that he just basically just said, I'm here and I'm here to support, and I've been in the community for a long time.
That's the school superintendent.
Yeah,
In the past, we haven't really had, a great deal of input about the needs of different schools. Where, our capital budget list, for instance, seemed to only have focused on one information about what various schools need.
I didn't necessarily touch what the previous chair did, but what I did try to do is be a little bit more district-wide.
We should ask him every year to give us a list.
Yeah.
Of different types of projects that either individual schools may need.
Okay, enough about you.
For this week anyway, but if Paola, because Ebenezer's out this week, Paola is covering, so I'll see if for hearing / that, if we can attach the list or circulate via email the list of what they responded with. Members will have it for when they rank.
Yeah, I'd like to see it beforehand. I mean, it's
Well, you got a week to rank, so.
What?
Everybody has about a week to rank.
Well, we've already done our rankings.
No, I mean, board, not.
The list, which is okay, you can do that, but it would be preferable to have had this information prior to the committee meeting.
Yeah, okay.
With the rankings, can the office or whoever let us know how many there are? Right, because sometimes we have yes ones that get confused,
Oh, the continued support, yeah. I wish that could happen, but the reality is the list isn't gonna be compiled till Monday because we're not gonna get all the budget rankings till Monday. So they're not gonna be able to do that. I think they'll put it in.
No, by Tuesday night, there'll be one complete list. There should be no
items we have. They're not gonna know till Monday.
Yeah, fine.
So, well, really Tuesday because people add on.
Okay, but that's what we need to know.
Yeah.
And then really, you may not know until the end of the meeting on Tuesday, in case people.
Like I said, with the space, and then the Survey Monkey on Tuesday will open.
All right.
So then, how to add any new items on the Survey Monkey. All right, is there any old business?
License report.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought you said, go to the minutes. So I heard you say.
How many items you have?
So we got 15, some,
They're gonna be there by themselves.
some of them withdrew, about 4 of them. There were changes, renewal, there was only one new license. Thank you. One new license, El Barcito, which is the replacement for the Harlem Public.
Yeah.
23rd and Bravo, so that is still replaced. Had a meeting also with the Designated Commissioner. She's she was very insightful in saying like, what is needed for community report. She's a community report person, by the way. And she puts a lot of weight onto what the community report has to say. And that's basically it. I will have the resolutions ready by Friday. there's no budget, ranking for my office, and the Yankee side will increase it.
You mentioned anything about shortening the time period or the waiting period for as long as it is now, which is like a year.
It has been,
something recent?
coming down a lot because they are applying a new technology to, deal with the amount of, review and temporary thing that's going to be, the process that was, for
Yeah, the
COVID.
new law just
Yeah,
passed.
and, she missed a couple of things, which I forgot, but, I think that we'll call it.
Yeah, it's a new law, days, temporary, liquor license.
It's been in place, because they, applicants have to renew on a monthly basis, and by 90 days, it should be over. Is that what you're
No, I
referring to?
think there's a new law that they signed this week. That's-
Yeah, they're gonna renew us every 2 years.
Every, he's saying too.
Yeah.
Well, you have old business, you said?
New.
Oh, no, okay.
Can I just, Isidro, do you know, on these various applications?
It's a great question, because I had asked, Ebenezer if I can report that from the SLA about that.
Again, this is the results of those resolutions, and I.
Yeah, they do.
What?
They do because you can go on the SLA website and see who got their license, who didn't.
But.
And look for it.
Yeah.
And so does the office compile that report? Is there something,
Okay.
and do they report that in some way that it can be then, and why do I want to spend time on the website? if the
I don't wanna
office-
look
if
at
the
it all.
office-
And
if-
I'll tell you what I've seen, again, I'm misspeak for them. When you come back for renewal, that's when they also go in and pull up your history, pull up, asking like if somebody got denied.
Well, I know, I just.
Like,
like
we
to know,
denied them and they did.
Resolutions, it's nice to know that we're not just sending them out opens. Did they in fact support our position? We never find out.
You can look. Then I know.
It's, if they're looking it up,
They're not looking it up I know that they can.
I suggest that they might.
But I
that we
mean,
might wanna
that's
ask
a
them-
longer conversation.
That we might want to ask them to the following month's meeting as to what the results were of the various resolutions that we passed.
Oh, you still here? I chatted with him.
I think Carmen on here is Joelle.
Your meeting, do you know when you
Yeah,
want to
I
have it?
originally scheduled it for the 14th, but we're having, see if we can move it to the 13th meeting. But I'm on the licensing committee quorum, so I might move it to, I think you gave me the option of the 18th.
19th, the day after exec, or,
What would you?
Domingo, do you have conflicts? Do your members have conflict with licensing? Would you, maybe Domingo and if.
You're ready now. I'm willing to do the Wednesday licensing.
Because I don't think your people do it.
And I
All right.
so I can do the
Yes.
12th?
Yes, you could do the 12th, Domingo does the
All right.
13th.
12 is also parks,
So that's
just,
up to the committee.
if you have any members that are also participating in
I-
parks, so the second Tuesday.
I think Alexis is on, you wanna? Okay, so if I'm okay with that. I'm pretty sure Alexis will.
Did, the office reach out to Mother Cabrini Church after the vandalism?
Other people.
Oh, they had I think some statues, I think maybe they're spare painted, statues, the wall around it.
I didn't get any of
Late
it.
last.
And I was here, because I was here early, no, the CB inbox didn't get anything.
Okay. I saw they cleaned it up right away, so.
Oh, okay. Is there a motion? Okay, so Anthony's sticking around. See you next week.
you so
Bye.
much.
Nice glasses.